everyone, and welcome to Pursue the Pull, the podcast that is geared towards helping people who are looking for a career change or for those who want to pursue their dreams and start their own business. So how do we differ from all of the other inspirational podcasts out there? Well, we interview people from a range of industries. So if you want to set up your own marketing agency or hair salon or restaurant, whatever it might be, we have someone specifically from that industry to tell you where and how to start, the lows and the highs, and most importantly, the truth. So we are one group and one community, and we have all of the answers. I am your host, Stacey Bevan, and today I have an amazing guest. Her name is Faye Fenton, and she is the founder of Barefoot, which is a yoga studio based in Birmingham, UK. First of all, thank you so much for joining us, Faye. We really appreciate the insight that you're about to give us.
Thank you, Stacey. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, I can't wait for this. So before we actually go into the questions that have been devised by our audience, I just want to give a bit of background into you and your company and what it is that you actually do. So you set up Barefoot 10 years ago with no yoga teaching experience and zero knowledge of how to run a yoga studio. But you had a huge passion for the practice of yoga, which kept you sane as a new mom. I understand that perfectly. And you had a firm belief that there was a big gap in the market for the style of yoga studio that you dreamed of. You then started out thinking it would be a lifestyle business that could be juggled with a proper job and two small kids. But then you quickly found out, and it proved way more than that. So the day job had to go. You kept the kids, of course. And now you have an amazing team. You run daily yoga classes in person at your Harborne studio, again based in Birmingham. But you also offer virtual classes, and you offer the Barefoot Yoga Teach Training Program, which is office yoga classes for schools and universities, as well as free classes for family carers looking after disabled and vulnerable loved ones. Barefoot is also home to a Harborne physiotherapy and think psychology, a counselling and psychotherapy clinic. And together you've created a professional wellness hub, but also a wonderful community full of tea, laughter, friendship, and ongoing education and support. So this is amazing. And I'm just going to jump straight into the first question, because I know there's a lot more to your story. It hasn't been so straightforward. So I'm really excited to go into this. So if it's okay with you, I'd just like to really go into the first question and understand your background. So how did this all come about? What were you doing before this? Did you have a job that you went into? How did you make this transition? This is really important for me to know as well. Like, you were a parent, as you said, so that must have been difficult. So how did it all start? Take us back, and how you got to this point, really?
Oh, whoa. Hearing all that, I'm feeling quite exhausted already, and we haven't even started. But yeah, all of that was, like you say, over 10 years. And immediately before I started the studio, I just landed my kind of dream part-time job as a mum of two young kids at a local university. I'd wanted to work for the entrepreneurship department there for ages. Got the job, and within like a month of starting Sod's Law, the perfect yoga studio location comes up. I'd been looking for a location for a yoga studio for maybe 2.5 years. It seemed impossible, like it didn't exist, too expensive, not the right size, no parking. It's very difficult to find what I needed. So as soon as I started this new job, which was great, perfect job for a mum, juggling kids, work, all the other stuff. Then this location comes up, and as soon as I step inside it, I thought I'd just have a little look around. It doesn't look perfect, but it could be. As soon as I stepped inside, I'm sat here now actually and looking around, and it seems like a year ago. I could see beyond all the partition walls. It was an old solicitor's building, dark, dreary, but filled with little cubicles, like individual offices, but a window in every little cubicle. So I knew once those walls came down, it could be like a real gem. So I tried to carry on running, running between proper job and setting up the studio. Once it opened, it quickly took off. I thought, maybe 5-6 people would come a day. But within 3 months, we were like running 3 classes a day, and I couldn't really continue to do both. So the job had to go. Sorry, University of Birmingham, but it was the entrepreneurship department. You know, they didn't
Yeah.
begrudge me leaving to pursue the pool, as it were. So that was immediately
Exactly.
before.
So how did you know that, like, you know, you wanted to go into this as a business? Where did, like, it was just a passion, I take it, or did you always know, I don't want to work for somebody, you know, I do want to pursue my own career? How did that come about, the thought of even doing this?
I'd always firmly known from a young age that
Okay.
what I spend my life doing in a job every day has to be something that I really, really love. You know, life is too short to have a job and not love every minute of it, and then to just live for the weekend. I always kind of knew that. As soon as leaving university, I had my first proper job, sat in front of a computer. It was marketing. It was supposedly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But for me, looking at a computer was looking at a computer. It didn't matter how pretty the pictures were or what the content was. And so I at that point, I was really into coffee shops, and I'd been to Australia, I think, in my early 20s. Loved the vibe there of all the cool little food stores and the coffee shops. So that was my thing. So I set up an organic cafe, which was a complete flop in my early 20s in Birmingham city centre. It was a horrendous experience at the time, but learned so much from it. You know, Birmingham wasn't quite ready for an organic vegetarian cafe in the Great Western Arcade at that point. But I didn't give up. And a year later, exactly, reopened in Harborne. Had to swallow a few of my principles. So it wasn't completely organic. It wasn't completely vegetarian. But took all the best bits of my original business plan before I'd been kind of persuaded to go for the city centre. I went back to my original gut feeling was that the Harborne really could do with a coffee shop. And this was before the likes of Costa, Starbucks, and none of the chains were there.
Yeah.
So it was quite new and exciting for Harborne.
Wow. And did you so before you actually got this yoga studio, did you have some sort of plan in place? Did you have, you know, what kind of money did you need to go into this? Did you need to have a lot of money to go into this, or how did that transition happen from the planning stage to getting the studio?
It did take a lot of money, a lot of sacrifice. We just moved house. We just downsized, thinking that we'd make life simpler, not have such a big mortgage. So that money didn't last long. That money that we're supposed to be saving went straight into the business. Borrowed money off mum and dad. Lived very frugally for a couple of years, very, very frugally. Got some grant funding as well, some European money. Which was aimed at helping create jobs. Little bits from everywhere and a lot of scrimping and saving.
Okay, and how did you get your first customers? How did that come about? Did you have to invest a lot in marketing, or how did you start getting those customers?
So we had a very basic website. A lovely lady over the road on Harborne High Street who had a cute little shop, an interior furnishing shop. I just got chatting to her one day, and she had all these skills, these background transferable skills, and said, I can build you a website. I think it was like 500 quid or something. In return for, it was in return for free yoga. That's it.
Oh, wow.
So she did it for free. Yes, I remember now. Andrea. Thank you, Andrea.
Thanks, Andrea.
Very true. So she built this website for us. It was a basic website. Linked to PayPal. So my very first customer, I remember it coming in through PayPal, and that was it.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you have like any inspiration? Like, was there any books or any videos or any, did you have a mentor or anything like that? Because obviously you tried business before, but this was a bit different. Was there any kind of help or guidance that you got at the early stages, especially?
I would say the biggest guidance came from that failure that I'd had many years ago.
Okay.
Even though it was in hospitality and catering, a lot of the same principles applied.
Okay.
So yeah, past failures was definitely my biggest guide. And then in terms of specific to yoga, although I absolutely lived, breathed and slept yoga, I hadn't actually run a yoga studio before. And so I just asked loads of yoga studio owners. There weren't any really in Birmingham. And I wouldn't want to ask people in Birmingham, but other cities, I just asked them how they started, how much do they spend on this per month, trying to work out my monthly outgoings. There's a great guy called Dylan Ayalu in London. He used to run a hot yoga power company. I remember he spent an hour on the phone with me. He didn't know me. I just called him and asked him if he'd maybe spare a little bit of his time. He was so helpful. I'm still in touch with him now over social media. And his parting words are all I don't want anything in return. Just make sure you pass on the wisdom what you learn to others when it's your turn.
Yeah.
I try and do that.
Good. Hence why we have you here. That's really good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in terms of like mentors and advice and staying inspired now, I listen to loads of podcasts.
Okay.
But these days they tend to be more about the yoga world rather than starting your own business.
Okay.
And back 10 years ago, yoga studios in the UK were pretty unusual. There wasn't really like a guru you could go to.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this ties into my next question, because a lot of people that want to start their business, they have an awful lot of fear. And especially, those that have children, because it's you're coming away from a secure job where, you're getting that regular wage to go into something that's a little bit unknown. So, I mean, how do you kind of overcome that fear? How did you just go in there and be like, right, I'm going to do this. What was your mindset like at that time? How did you do that, basically?
I just had a very firm vision of the kind of clients that would be coming to the studio, to Barefoot. I knew that I wouldn't be the only mum of kids really feeling like I needed a break, somewhere to have a bit of me time, somewhere to exercise, somewhere to connect with other women, but without babies or kids in tow, somewhere to get strong and get healthy and just connected to other people, in an atmosphere that was a little bit different to a gym or like a cold church hall. Most yoga classes back then were either in a gym with pumping music and people peering through the glass, aircon on, not very relaxing, or in a community centre where there'd be maybe dust on the floor making you sneeze as soon as you got near the floor. I just had this firm belief that there'd be other people like me that wanted somewhere to connect and have some me time at the same time as getting fit. So that was kind of unshakable. And then, don't get me wrong, I was super scared. Like, what if this all crashes around me and we've got 2 kids and a mortgage to pay? But, for me, the fear of not doing it and regretting it was worse than the fear of doing it and it not working out quite as I hoped.
Wow. Okay. And were there any kind of real challenges or a period of time where it was, you felt a bit demotivated or, something happened that was, a big challenge or a big crisis? Is there anything that happened like along this journey that really tested you?
We didn't have any like major crises early on. It was more just a series of ongoing little problems, literally every week. Yeah, a series of mini problems to solve. The biggest crisis for us was COVID, so far more recently.
Yes, of course. Oh, wow. So, and everything's okay now after COVID? So everything's...
Well, obviously we had 2 lockdown periods, didn't we, of not being able to open at all. For us, a bit of a lifesaver was the fact that we also have space available for counsellors, think psychology and herbal and physiotherapy. So they were still able to open and see patients, which was a lifeline for us. It meant that we could still get their rent and the building was still alive. So that kind of kept me motivated. And of course, we did online classes.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this where the virtual classes side came into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where virtual classes started. And it was also an opportunity to reassess where we wanted the business to go. We made quite a few changes. We also took the opportunity of having a forced closure to refurbish, which was really scary, actually, with no money coming in to speak of, then spending money on making the place more spacious to allow for social distancing when we did reopen, to just refresh everywhere. We'd been open at that point, 8 years? But because we have classes every single day and things going on every day, it's very difficult to get in there and get the paintbrushes out. So there was a silver lining to that. And slowly now we've rebuilt almost to where we were, but it's a different kind of business for sure. We've kept the virtual. People seem to like joining us on Zoom. So even though we have more space in the studio now and not as many mats crammed in, we've always got 10 to 20 people on Zoom as well, so that's nice.
Oh gosh, that's great. Okay, and so just for people out there, so I suppose there's kind of two parts to this question. What advice would you give to people who do want to start their own business, but they do have that incredible fear? They want to come away from permanent employment and from a full-time job, and they want to actually work for themselves. So what advice would you give to those people wanting to do that?
Well, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I was working on my business plans for the various businesses I've done way before I opened or started. Okay. You can do the two things at the same time. I tended to work part-time, so that I'd be ready to jump when everything aligned. Whether it's a physical business or not, there's always various threads that you need to bring together. Yeah, it is scary. There are sleepless nights. You will be working ridiculous hours, and but you just do it. And it's only when you stop and pause and look back at the early days that it seems incredible that you pulled that off.
Yeah.
But it can be done. And as I said, for me, the fear of not doing it, becoming old and not having achieved your dreams or had a go at achieving your dreams is more scary. So trust your gut, you do your research and make your plan. But if you've got this gut feeling that it's going to work and you're passionate about what you make or sell, then selling is easy. If you love what you offer, selling is so easy. That I found speaking to other people that are thinking about setting up their businesses, they might say things like, "Oh, I'm not a salesperson. I don't like all that hard sell." I'm absolutely not that person at all. I was quite a shy teenager, not even that into exercise. But once you find something that's so transformative, like when you find the solution to people's problems, encouraging other people to buy it is a joy. It's really, it's easy. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, no, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. And that is one of the big questions you do get, I don't know how to sell, and that's something that people worry about. But you're right, it comes out of you. Like, people can feel your passion when you're explaining, well, it is. So I definitely agree with that. And I do like, it's kind of all or nothing. You have to put a lot of effort into it and be consistent as well. So I agree fully with that. What would you say to someone that wanted to do exactly what it is that you do? What advice would you give to someone that wanted to set up their own yoga studio?
Well, if it's a bricks and mortar building, which if it's a building it is, if it's a physical location, location, that is so true. And what I failed to realize with our first business, that means the exact section of the street. It doesn't mean Birmingham or Harborne or Erdington. It means the specific street. It means that section of the street, because your visibility is going to make such a difference. How far you are, if it's a sandwich shop, for example, how far you are from the train station. Might be irrelevant if everyone getting off that train is going straight to their place of work and then they're rushing straight back to leave at the end of the day. They don't have time to stop. People don't always have lunch breaks these days. So location is absolutely key. We're on the corner of Crossroads, which at first glance might not look the most enticing location for a yoga studio, but it's great. We've got traffic coming from 3 sections. They see us. People can walk here. Parking is always an issue, but we're a neighbourhood yoga studio. So yeah, look at your location like absolutely to the nth degree.
Crucial. Okay. Amazing. That is. Yeah, sorry, you were going to give more.
Yeah. One other thing in terms of, well, it would apply to a yoga studio, but any business really, I guess. I think you've got to absolutely 110% love your logo and love your branding, because you're going to be looking at it every single day. You know, it's going to be on social media, signage everywhere. Don't make it too trendy. Don't make it too current, because you want to keep that logo and that branding. So 10 years on, I'm so happy that I was so pedantic about our Barefoot Birmingham branding. Every logo that came back from my design, I was like, it's okay, but I don't absolutely love it. And then I remember a yoga teacher here who's also a graphic designer, Claire, who said, Faye, you've got to absolutely love it, because you're going to so regret it. Just keep going. But yeah, that's my other big thing.
Wow, amazing. Look, thank you so much for, being vulnerable and just, giving the advice that you've given. It's going to help a lot of people.
Oh, so you're welcome. I could go on and on, honestly.
I know when I do these, I'm just so invested. I'm like, okay, so, what about this and what about this? So, there's a lot that people, want to know, but you've been extremely, like I say, vulnerable, and you've given everyone a lot of insight. So I appreciate you joining us, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye now. Bye.